that's great. So, well, that'll be interesting. February 7th?
Starts February 7th, gala opening, and then sales start the next day, okay, Saturday at 11. It closes in mid-July.
Oh, it's only a short.
I mean, the idea is liquidation, right?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is stuff from the Fox and from...
Stuff from the Fox, stuff from Dana Crawford Properties,
Oh,
and
all over properties.
new stuff to be added on a monthly or bi-weekly basis.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the Columbian Hotel, there's so much in there.
What, did she now own that?
Columbian, Jaffa Opera House, Trinidad Lounge
She
building.
owns the Columbian now? Wow.
She owns the Opera House now?
Opera House too? So she's a high risk taker. Tell her I have a building
Talk
in
about
Raton.
high risk taking, exactly.
Tell her I have a building in Raton, it's 101 years old.
Oh my.
The Licio building right across from International Bank, so.
Oh, Raton's a different place. Are we all of us then?
Yeah, we probably ought to
Okay.
start. The
Yeah.
recording's going.
All right, so we'll call this meeting together of the Historic Preservation Commission, January 8th, 2020. Roll call, please.
Delicio,
Present?
Rogan, Smith,
Present?
Pritchard.
Present. Public comments, we don't have any public. Approval of the minutes.
And because we didn't have a quorum, we didn't have enough members for a quorum, we had the chairman just go ahead and approve those minutes, so then we're starting fresh now, so.
All right. Approved by the chairman, I see that.
Yeah.
That was me. Okay, welcome new commissioners, welcome Christopher Smith.
Thank you.
Glad you're on the board.
Me too.
Your experience and enthusiasm will be most welcome.
Thank you. Let it be known that I, upon swearing in with council, made mention that I will recuse myself from any decisions regarding any properties that Dana is affiliated with. And that is not just ownership of, but affiliated, and that includes the Fox, Jaffa Opera House, the Columbian. Happy to provide ideas and insight, but I will recuse myself from any votes on properties she's involved with.
And we're hoping that she will decide to locally landmark some of them.
Exactly.
And that you'll find it necessary to recuse yourself, so, that'd be great.
So then we don't have enough people to elect a new chairman.
We have a quorum, we have 3 out of 4. We need to, if you prefer to wait till the next meeting, we can do that.
Well, when Shannon's here.
If you would prefer to do that then, we can.
Yeah, I guess
do
we should do that. We'll postpone that.
Okay.
Design guidelines. That's something that we made an effort on maybe 2 years ago, and we let it drop. Design guidelines mostly for the core zone district.
Yes, well, that's kind of what we needed to discuss. And what I did and Chairman will be familiar with this, but what I did is I copied from the planning and zoning ordinance, the section on the core zone, what guidelines we have right now for that.
Specifically for the core zone district.
Yeah, and this is in
the highlight.
This is in the planning and zoning department, so this is the limit of what we have on there, and I should come over here so I'm on recording. The first picture there is just the map. That red outline is the entire district. The area that's in yellow is the residential district. The part that's outlined in the green is what's called the mixed-use district. And the information that follows that is what's in code right now for the district. So I thought what might be good, and I looked up, I got some samples from different towns on their design guidelines. And they're like 284 pages long, things like that. So what I could do is tomorrow I will email links to those.
Okay.
So you could kind of look at a few different ones and start thinking through your thoughts on those. it looks to me like if all of them that I saw, they got a grant from History Colorado to have a professional prepare design guidelines. So I thought if we looked at these and, you know, kind of got an idea what you think about the core zone guidelines, and see if you think they really need to be addressed other things. You know, it's something that's gonna have to end up going to council, but we could also consider doing design guidelines citywide, if that's something you wanted to prefer. But I thought this is gonna be a process of kind of getting familiar with different types of guidelines. And they are definitely just guidelines. You know, all of them that I saw, they were kind of information for people to use, but they weren't required. You know, in here, in our planning and zoning, it is required that they meet these guidelines. But you'll see they're fairly simple guidelines, not too restrictive.
Yeah, and the problem with the design guidelines that we have in the core zone district is that they were sabotaged and subverted to get that Toyota dealership in violation of 7 zoning regulations. I'm hoping that loophole has been closed. Tara told me it was closed.
Yes, and that subdivision, I'm thinking that was done right before I came to the city, so I'm not too familiar with it.
Yeah.
But,
Wait, thoughts off the top of my head, the entire city is historic. And I think that it would be this board's job to think about the entire city as being historic. And tell me if I'm wrong, is it feasible this time next year, January 2021, we're doing a full-out public information campaign about historic preservation for any property in the city? And then there's a targeted smaller section that says, oh, and if you're in this side, here's the rules, and if you're in this side, not rules but guidelines, here's guidelines for this neighborhood, here's guidelines for this neighborhood. But we, this board, recognize the entire city as being historic, and therefore, here's our City of Trinidad interpretation of Department of Interior guidelines, historic preservation techniques, History Colorado, and we spend time between now and this time next year. Would that be
yes,
helpful?
Yeah, and what I wanted to start out with, I wanted to make sure, I believe the chairman and Commissioner Delicio did receive these booklets when they first started, and I wanted to get you and Shannon one.
Cool.
But I put in here our ordinance that created the commission. And then also in here primarily is our comprehensive plan that the planning and zoning did.
Cool.
And that's a citywide initiative, I guess, for different boards and commissions to address things that the community wanted to see happen in the community. But the ordinance it designates the city limits as the boundaries. So locally we can landmark, and we've been working on getting our forms and our application process prepared. And just, I believe it was in November, the Carnegie Library was our first local landmark we designated. And we did that so we'd kind of get familiar with the process, and we'd have one example of a completed application. And we did put out some information, and we got some people responding, resident properties. And there was about 4 or 5 of them, I can't quite remember. And everything got really hectic leading up to the holidays and preparing the Brownfields grant and different things. But my intention is to get back with those people, and I haven't gotten the applications in yet, so I'll ask, what you need. And we're getting these plaques done up, so we're gonna kinda start, as we designate properties, we wanna get some PR in the paper about that.
Right.
So we are, public education is definitely a priority. So we need to constantly work on that and find any little thing we can do that's gonna get
Sure.
information out there.
And
So,
because our initiatives through this coming year, 2020, there's gonna be this, and there's gonna be that, and there's gonna be this. And boy, the 10-page booklet for every resident of Trinidad, what is historic preservation, and it explains that. And it doesn't mean we're coming for your bricks, or you gotta retain your bricks, or any other thing, but it's a general Q&A. And maybe it's not even a year out, maybe it's 8 or 9 months out, where we've digested every document there is, and we put together those guidelines that are welcoming to the entire community. Because I've heard some backlash that, oh, they don't, you don't want to rub people the wrong way.
Well,
And
we tried this before. I was on a commission that came up with the first design guidelines. Mr. Murphy was involved in that.
The first ordinance.
Well,
was-
The first ordinance.
First preservation ordinance.
Historic
It's
preservation
18 years
ordinance.
ago now.
Huh?
Actually, it goes back 18 years.
That
And it was
far?
passed and I repealed it.
Yeah.
And then we discussed it. I thought we had everything that we needed. They passed it in 2002, and my objection was that you could find and imprison people. And I still have all the paperwork, and so we repealed it. I got
But there
a
was-
special election.
But there was never any discussion about removing that particular section from the ordinance.
Yeah, I actually stood here and asked Mr. Riordan to do that, myself and Dave Borak did, and they refused. And it was at that point that I initiated it. When Gilda Rubio got here and Tara, we came to agreements, as far as I thought we were, that everything's in place. I
Well,
don't know what
it's-
more we need.
It's not in place, I don't think. I don't think we have the protections we need for our historic district downtown. What we need people to understand is that historic preservation benefits the entire community, and everyone is taking it personally, that this is my building and you cannot tell me what to do with it, when in fact it benefits the entire community to have a consistent design guideline program, so that we don't have something happen like to the insurance building over there on Commercial, where it's all covered in, or even on Main Street, where things are covered in
Windows are up.
plastic or aluminum, And all that does is lower the integrity of the community, and it benefits property values and the economy to have a consistency within a district, so that we don't have sort of outlaw construction projects going on that diminish the community. That's the point, and it's just to preserve what is Trinidad's main historical asset, and that is our downtown.
And I'll restate, we came to an agreement when Ed was here, and we got this passed, and we thought it was done and over with, it was in place, and we were okay with what was passed. I think that we're rehashing history here again, because I listened to that, and those are the things that I fought against. I don't agree, and we probably won't, come to a consensus on that. But now I'm gravely concerned to really pay attention to this, because this is you're not going to have everybody that agrees with you, Wayne. You know that, and I just hate to see us go down this road without a whole lot of discussion, because I'm not the only voice that feels
So
this
there
way.
there will be plenty of discussion.
Yeah.
But also, we need people like you to actually do some self-education about the importance of historic preservation, so that perhaps you could broaden your view of the benefits of it. And there's plenty of information all over the country and here in Colorado. In fact, there was 3-day seminar put on by a guy about the benefits.
Donovan Ridkema, we brought
And
in.
I don't know if you.
I
probably-
filmed it, I have it on tape, and I brought up the issues with them too. And they could play it again, I could go back and find it. But this isn't a slam dunk for you guys of saying, hey, let's do this and this will work and everybody be happy about it.
We don't
Just
think
be
so.
aware.
We're not saying it's a slam dunk.
I didn't.
The thing is-
Can I just got to town, right, within the last year. So I'm from the East Coast and I've seen historic preservation go on a lot of places. My sister runs the Idaho State Museum. If Trinidad didn't want to preserve what's in this red line, they shouldn't have gotten involved with this. This is National Historic District. Whatever went down in '02, whatever went down to get the Toyota sign down or up, right? Whatever went down to get that there, it's gotta be history. It's gotta be history to us. And I feel like it's not as much the documents aren't in place, it's that we need a PR campaign to take what Donovan Ripka and others have contributed. Trinidad's betting on a creative economy. You also have a historic economy, right? And that historic tourism is within this red line. So it's this board's job to come up with the best guidelines for people to preserve that. And it would be my hope that we don't put more Toyota signs in the red line. That's a goal because it looks historic now and we don't want to ruin that. Does that make sense? I know that even that probably rubs people the wrong way, but.
Can I make a point here? I'm sorry. First of all, the current historic preservation ordinance is all voluntary. So
Yeah.
it's not restrictive to anybody. And guidelines, if we were to do that, would be voluntary too, other than the handout that I gave you, which is part of municipal code.
Mhm.
That is what's part now, and that is basically law, I guess you would say. But if we were to go through and do the design guidelines, they would be guidelines for people to look at. They would not be something that we would be enforcing. So I just wanted to make that distinction. So we're not
Right.
changing what we have.
But Wayne
It
had
would
said
be
something
more
about
like-
Toyota violating, were they violating guidelines or were they
They're violating zoning ordinances. All 7 of the zoning ordinances in the historic district were violated by the Toyota
Which
leadership.
7,
I can't think of them offhand, but
was it was that a planning and zoning
it
meeting?
is planning a zoning issue.
So I filmed it.
Yeah, and so the design guidelines, part of this, they were absolutely, we were told that Toyota's gonna do what they want regardless of the ordinance about the design guidelines that are already in place. And about, following materials in the facades are prohibited, smooth face concrete, metal or vinyl. All of that was completely, what it was basically is, we're gonna do this whether you like it or not, whether or not it's in the historic district, we don't care, take it and lump it, is what they told us. And it was a, absolute travesty, violating the zoning ordinances that we're responsible for enforcing. And so now we have that in a historic district. It did not belong there, it's offensive, and yet it was rammed down our throat. I'm hoping that loophole has been closed so that we can at least follow what the ordinance prescribes as our ordinance.
And I would hope in my role, 1/4 of this commission, there's no us and them here. I don't want to debate the Toyota sign ever again, actually, personally. We have way too much to do, but what's in this red line is crazy historic, right? And it's something that everybody in Trinidad recognizes. We need to make sure that what's inside of the red line is preserved as best as we can see fit. I think part of that is instilling within citizenry here in Trinidad the idea that historic preservation is worth money. And people will come to see this historic town as is because we sought to preserve it.
And what's ironic.
Education and buy-in of the community is our number one need, is to
Yeah.
create buy-in. to
But what's
educate them
ironic
and
to
create
me
buy-in.
is that the citizens of Trinidad don't wanna preserve their own historic downtown. That to
Those-
me just makes no sense.
Those assumptions wouldn't be helpful here.
No, but.
I'm gonna just flatly assume the other, right? And there are plenty of folks like myself that moved here because it is historic.
Right.
And we can create a feeling of positivity around it, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be.
And that work needs to
So,
get
yeah,
done, is what
so,
I'm
yeah,
thinking.
So we need to move forward
Yeah,
on
so-
that, but what we'll do is I'd kinda like you to look at these.
Yeah.
If you have suggestions on these, then that's something that would be a major change that we'd have to go through.
Right, so.
But you had talked about doing design guidelines for the town, and we could look at preparing a plan for design guidelines that would be general for, people would look at, types of windows that were appropriate for this type of building,
Mhm.
and things of that nature, this type of home.
So we don't need
Yeah,
to
we
argue
can do
this
that.
anymore, Tom, so, thank you.
No, but I just wanna make clear, because although you don't have your nameplate, I've actually been doing it for 40 years.
Cool.
And so, but there are points of contention here, of opinions, and there's things I don't agree with on Wayne, and we've had this, discussion before.
Yeah, but we're not gonna solve it tonight.
No,
We'll
but I'm
solve it.
just expressing myself
So, thank you.
of,
Right on.
here's where I stand. I appreciate you guys, bringing this up, and, just wanna let you know that, the idea that everybody would jump on board and be behind you guys,
Oh,
you're gonna find
absolutely.
resistance.
Yeah.
And please, if there was a dozen people that wanted to chew our ears at our next meeting, I would love to hear from them. I have nothing to lose, I have no dog in the fight, and I need to understand what that backlash is before we can talk about how to preserve what's inside of this red line.
Sure.
So I'd appreciate as many voices as possible.
But if we can move along now.
So
Um,
I will email out some different links
Okay.
to different different towns and cities, from Boulder to
Yeah.
Silverthorne, some different type ones, so you can get a feel of what a complete plan is. But if you wanted to pursue that, we would need to apply for a grant, because it costs quite a bit of money
Yeah.
to get a grant to hire a professional
Right.
to do that. So
Right.
I thought we'd start with this and kind of see what we've got right now as this,
Yeah.
and this is municipal code, it's not our historic preservation ordinance.
Okay. All right, so we'll move along to this grant application. And this is to research and prepare a historic resources survey plan for the city of Trinidad.
Yes, and that's an application, as a certified local government, History Colorado has certain grants available for the certified local government. So, I prepared this application, with the assistance of, I had contacted a few different consultants, explaining to them that I wasn't too familiar with this, and give me all your advice. One of them was Front Range Associates. And they're the ones that did the actual 2001 survey of the historic district. And they're also the ones that History Colorado recommended to me. They said they are truly the best. So a lot of that is based on what they provided to me. And I think it's a really good plan. So it would start out
Do
with
you have a copy of this?
I have most of it, but I've read it, so.
Okay, so, there'd be a public, meeting to start out with, try and get community members to come to this meeting and talk about what's important to them. Maybe they know of things we should consider, ideas they have, maybe people they should talk to and interview. And they research all the past history, any work that's been done, things that have been designated. They put all that information together, and this is in part to assist in our requirement to create an inventory of historic resources. So they'll put together what information we have, then they'll go kind of a windshield survey around town and identify areas that we might consider for future surveys. and they prioritize those. So that's basically what the grant would do. If we were awarded the grant, that's what we would.
So you've submitted the grant.
No, it has to be submitted by the 15th, so I wanted to get the commission's approval on it, and then I need to get the mayor's approval, and then I wanna submit it by Friday, because I'm always afraid that there'll be a massive power failure in the last 4 days, I can't, you know.
I make a motion to accept this grant application.
I'll second it.
Okay, catch up with you here.
All right, roll call then.
With one comment and a quote, because this addresses the conversation that we had earlier, and I don't like anything contentious. Quote, "This process in itself will further educate the community and create increased awareness of the importance in protecting the significant historic assets that we are fortunate to have."
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's $25,000 coming to Trinidad to accomplish that goal. That's awesome. That can create an air of positivity around historic preservation.
Yeah, and then for our commission, it'll give us a guide that we can start out, this is the #1 priority, that we should survey this area. Maybe they'll decide it's the Colorado Avenue homes, you know, that needs to be surveyed, or maybe Allendale, or maybe they'll come up with things that I'm not even thinking of, you know. So it'll provide direction for our future work and help us meet the requirement for maintaining an inventory of all the resources.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'm
that's,
call roll.
that's unanimous. And thank you, Georgie, for putting this together.
Oh.
Do I need to sign the,
Yes, and if you sign in blue. Did I hand you the copy? No, this is the one I need you to sign. Right there. And today is the 8th.
Should I ask Chris a question? Do they have to work on the JAFA with the historical preservation guidelines?
I'm not aware. I mean, it's in the historic preservation, it's in the National Historic District,
District.
so
And then-
it is not listed on the National Register to my knowledge, which is a distinction.
And the Columbian, is it listed?
I do not believe
I
so.
don't think so.
'Cause they
Do we
to
have a
commercial.
list of everything that's National Registered in town?
That's, well, we might have that somewhere, and that's part of what this would do is pull
Cool.
together any information that's out there. It would research the
The only
properties that
thing
have been listed.
I'm aware of is the library.
Well,
You have
no,
a
there's,
list.
I think there's a few of them. There's a home on Colorado Avenue that, actually Tony Moderano lives in right now, that's on the National Register.
Oh.
There's a few of them, so this'll help us get that information together. But our real goal is to get as many people to locally landmark their properties. Because with local landmarking, once they've chosen to landmark their property, then we do have control over the exterior of the property.
As a thought, when we get around to public input, I would like to have, and I can never pronounce the guy's name, but we were just talking about his
Jonathan
presentation.
Richmond?
Have somebody go through and pick out the highlights from that presentation and then have that available in a discussion. We could have it on the screens and hit the high points of his presentation, because I thought that was a fabulous presentation. I don't know if you were here.
I don't think
A lot of
It really
economic
was.
development, it was, you had a lot of economic development resources and
Yeah.
actual history of different cities that
Yeah, it was
showed the
fabulous.
proof,
And we
proof
have-
of the pudding. Yeah, it
Yes.
was
And
cool.
Mr. Murphy put that on YouTube, the Richmond.
Is it still there?
I haven't
I
looked in a
haven't taken
while,
any,
but.
I haven't taken anything down, so if it,
Yeah.
I just need a date so I can watch it again.
Okay. And I have, the PowerPoint presentations, he made a copy of that for me and gave
Oh.
it to me.
So we could add it through it, and somebody could, not me, but I mean, somebody could. Okay, so we're gonna, we've got the approval for the grant
I
application.
meant to ask, what is the deadline, or when will they let you know, and when we can start this, if it's approved?
Well, they said sometime between March and June they will award.
Nice.
And so we set it up in the timeline for, I believe it's August to start.
Cool.
So the 25,000, is that what the proposal was back from?
Yes,
Front Range?
it's also the maximum grant amount, so, you know.
Hey, just throwing it out there, let's imagine that grant comes in the weekend before Articade, a historic preservation day here in Trinidad.
Oh,
At which time Donovan Ripka is here, we can invite folks from the community, we can tour historic properties. There's a lot of different things we could do, but if Articade is the crown jewel of Trinidad, the weekend before, I'm just throwing it out there. If we do get that grant, that would be an awesome time to do community outreach.
It's in
And, you know,
September, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I really appreciate all the ideas
You
you
have to get a
can
float.
provide.
And
I-
get a float.
You know, as much work as the commission can do would be helpful too, because I'm the only staff
sure.
member, you know, so I just want that kept in mind.
Well, I can help edit, I'll volunteer if we can get with Tom. Will you help us edit, Tom, or that Ripka?
If they, either that or I can go in and tell me the date, and I can just say, go to this spot. It doesn't have to be edited, I just put in the comments of I can go to this part and watch this and get detailed, you know, whatever. And it just makes it easy if you go to YouTube and do that.
Well, wasn't
But
the
just tell me
chamber-
what you want and I'll put it in there.
Okay. Wasn't the chamber working on some kind of house tour and that kind of thing, or somebody was?
That,
Was it
I still
Wednesday?
have a flyer for that. It's kind of fallen by the wayside for a little while. I think they still want to do it. They had it planned last year for August,
Was it?
and then
No, it didn't.
I forgot what mucked it up.
Who was in charge of that? Was it Main
Um,
I think the Main Street group was talking about it just yesterday in their meeting, but, I suggested to them that they identify the homeowners that will allow the tours first before they put much
Street?
effort into it, because
But put the first weekend of September bug in there here, if you would. Why not make it a historic
And
preservation?
that's actually the more historic thing in that weekend is Labor Day Parade. And that's
Labor
what-
Day Parade? Oh,
that's
so the Sunday, yeah. I don't know.
Sunday before.
Sunday.
That is the biggest event in the whole.
Right, the
And
parade's
that's
on Monday, so.
100 years old, something, but yeah, the horses and all the cattle, and it's a big rodeo. We should be in that parade. That's a bigger audience attended.
all right, so we're gonna move
Yeah,
along
let's
now
do
to the
September.
chairman's report.
Okay.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay.
Well, you're going to that conference, aren't you?
Huh?
Aren't you going to the conference?
Going to the conference, yeah, at the end of the month. Are you going? Yeah, you're going?
Are you going to my presentation?
What time is it?
I don't even have an agenda yet.
Thursday, 1:45,
Oh.
Dana and I will be presenting about the fox.
Yeah, it's online. There's also gonna be another work session on space to create. And then also at the Endangered Places Luncheon, the Corazon is going to be removed from the most endangered places list.
Is there cause I'll be there on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, it's Thursday luncheon, and I believe both you and Martha have a.
Yeah, but is there an agenda posted online?
Yes, if you go to Colorado Preservation Inc., or I can send you the link to it.
Yeah, because of course we'll be there, of course. Okay, do you have a
Do you
report,
have any
Georgie?
commissioner reports?
Hmm?
Do you have?
No.
Yes, just a quick one. Do you remember, when Erica Duback was down and I was talking about I utilized this book quite a bit, and she said she could get everybody a copy of it? She sent some down to me, so I will give each of you a copy of this book. And it does talk about survey plans in here and design guidelines. And I wanted, Shannon isn't here yet, but I'll give you this booklet.
Oh, thank you.
And the one thing in there that I need is, there's a thing that they put out. It needs a signature on the back page of it, so I read it and turned that. And the only other thing I was going to talk about was the convention, or the conference that's coming up this end of this week.
What is?
Shannon, the conference, the Colorado Preservation Week conference. So I'm really glad everybody here is going to be going. Shannon won't be going because we had this all set up prior to that, and luckily Chris will be there with. I'm sure you'll be attending some of the other workshops as well. And Commissioner DeLisio, I don't know, did you go last, or a couple
I went to
years
the
ago?
Colorado Springs, but no, I've never been to this one.
Okay,
They
you'll
went to-
find this pretty amazing. It's kind of like the premier conference for
The
historic
conference
preservation
is in the
Colorado.
same hotel that we're booked in, is that right?
I think it is, the Sheridan downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we make the reservations, so. So, that's about all I had. I will email those links to the different, design guidelines to you.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm available anytime if you want to come in and talk about things. So we'll have the elections next month. And I encourage everybody to put their name in for chairman and vice chair.
Did you wanna retain your position? Did you wanna retain chairman?
No,
Oh, you don't?
no. I don't want to retain this chairmanship. I'm also chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Oh, that's good.
And newly
Indoctrinated.
elected to that position.
Congratulations.
So I would like to
Not have too many chairs.
lessen the load a little bit.
Yeah. Some months it's gonna be 2 meetings in a row for both
Mm-hmm.
chairman and myself. We have planning and zoning and historic preservation.
Yeah.
So depending on how the week lies, many months we'll have 2 meetings in a row, so.
Yeah, so anyway, no, I'm gonna give up this seat and just become, just sit on the board.
How many years have you been the chairman of this one?
Since the inception.
And how long was that?
I don't know, 2 years?
It was in December of 17 when we seated the commission.
Oh.
And just to update, Commissioner Smith, some of the things we've done, we did, bring in Donovan Ripkema. That was another grant from History Colorado, which Dana Crawford helped us. He was her suggestion. And of course he did it for her, I think, but, it was 3 sessions. We did a session at the college, mostly for the city officials and commissioners. We did a public meeting that night at the SCRT, and the next morning we had a follow-up meeting, Holiday Inn. He was very gracious. That was a big one for us. We've been really working on getting our applications for local landmarking going. And we've had a little bit of publicity over that. We're getting these nice plaques ordered right now. I'm ordering 10 of them, so I want to make sure that we get
10 buildings.
really quick, we designate, and with each one, when we have the mayor presenting plaques, that's another opportunity for PR. The Chronicle News was here that one night, and he offered us any help, they will work with us. If you're good at writing, and you want to create things, that will help us. They also obtained, when they purchased the Chronicle News business, they obtained all of the past newspapers. Cosette Henricks does a lot of articles, history articles. They told us they would work with us if we wanted. We've talked about working with Cosette to create a booklet, especially if we can designate some homes locally. I think that would be a good one, because there is a booklet, you know, a walking, tour of the district area, so there are some things out there on that, but residences haven't been addressed at all, so that's something I would like to see, and like Commissioner Smith said, broaden it out, you know.
Isn't even art space, those three buildings are historically preserved based on
Yes.
all the work Tara did, because they
Mhm.
qualified those as state
Right.
preservation.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
gonna be
They're
restored.
being restored through that historic
Yeah.
guideline, right? So those
Yes,
three-
and you know, there's a number of entities that will have conservation easement
Can they
type things
apply?
on those buildings.
Can they apply for the landmarking process? I mean, shouldn't that building, those three?
Oh, be locally
the Toller
landmarked?
building and, yeah, art space.
That would be a good one, if, you know, if they will agree to do that, that would be a great one to do as well.
Because they've already done the research and the history and getting all that.
So now with the new year starting again, I really wanna get back with some of those people and say, is there anything holding you up? We do have a consultant that we've hired too, to assist people, to assist us in our review of those, any applications. Her
Who's
name's
that?
Sharice Boomsma, Preservation Studio, she's in Colorado Springs. And, another thing that I was thinking of is we're going to have to look at, preparing. Now, you know, if somebody wants to, if they've locally landmarked their property and then they come to us, they wanna make a change, we're going to have to come up with our guidelines, our procedure for reviewing alterations. So that's one of my goals too, that we have to really take a look at and be prepared for if a local landmark wants to make a change of some sort to their property. And so our next meeting will be February the 2nd, Wednesday of the month, 5:30.
February 2nd.
No, the second Wednesday of February.
Oh.
I don't have a
February
calendar with me.
12th.
February 12th. Say 5:30. And if you get a chance this month to look at some of those preservation plans, put your thoughts together and then bring them, that'd be great.
Okay, you can
And
do that.
I really wanna thank our new commissioners for their willingness to commit their time to this. It's really important, and we were not able to hold meetings in November or December because we didn't have a quorum. So I'm really glad we're up and running again.
I teach in higher ed all the time, so when classes are of a small number, and I mean, it would really not be fun to show up and not have a quorum. You're really good about email, so if with a meeting at 5:30, if we know we're not gonna make it, can we email in by 4:30? And you can call off the meeting by 5 if we're not having a quorum.
That would be great. I would
I'm
love
just
to
throwing
know
that
ahead
out
of
there to
time.
save everybody the legwork.
Yeah, I would love to have that ahead of time, and, you know, I'm the staff facilitator for planning and zoning too, and normally we have public hearings scheduled and people showing up for that, and it's very discouraging if we don't have a quorum,
Sure.
so.
I can make that commitment. I will definitely email in an hour before the meeting. No later than an hour before the meeting so that she can get notification out, because
Fine.
we're all integral. You're in, email,
Oh, yeah.
something went haywire.
Yes, and,
Cool.
you know, try and just put on your calendar, second Wednesday of the month,
Oh, yeah.
because, you know, it's only 12
Yeah,
meetings a
when you
year.
have to keep changing it, it's not fun to try to regroup. Let's keep
Yeah.
the standard date, right?
Yeah, yeah, and we had to adjust it a lot of times during this past year. We were holding our meetings at 3:00 in the afternoon, but now we have our local landmarking set up, so we can hold public hearings, so we've moved them to the evenings, and they'll stay at 5:30, second Wednesday. Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Georgie. So you'll hear back from, well, you won't even know any feedback on that grant application until March.
That
Or
was
yeah,
nice.
at least March.
That's okay.
so.
It's okay, we still got all kinds of fun things we're gonna do.
Oh, I
Yes.
know, but, it would be nice if we heard something.
Yeah, and if you notice in that grant application that it's completed in 2021, it's not a quick, easy thing to
Yeah,
do. So,
nothing is, it seems like.
but I'm really thrilled with the consultants that we'll be able to use. That, you know, they're familiar, they did the district. One of the things they may come to conclusion as a number one priority is to update that, you know, because we've lost some of the buildings.
Mhm.
And, but we'll see what their priorities, what they recommend for priorities.
Okay. All right,
Make a motion to adjourn.
we're done.
Second.
You have to do the parliamentary thing.
He has to have a.
Second, roll call.
Yes. And you
All in
seconded,
favor?
right?
Yes, I seconded.
Oh my God, we're a little more casual.
Well,